The Ford Puma compact SUV comes with quite strange maintenance intervals in its service book, and those intervals differ from one country to another. I will cover the official intervals and also give my comments on what you may want to change to make the vehicle last longer. First of all, the Puma has standard service intervals of 2 years and 30,000 kilometers or 18,000 miles. Well, this sounds good. It's not actually good for your car, so you may reconsider the interval and introduce the interim service for oil change and common inspections. So the official service requirement is pretty easy to follow, and it fits all ICE-driven Puma models with 1.0 EcoBoost, 1.0 EcoBoost Hybrid, and 1.5 EcoBlue Diesel. The Puma EV will obviously have different requirements. Service 1 is at 30,000 kilometers, 18,000 miles or 2 years, whichever comes first. The requirements are to change the oil and oil filter, change the brake fluid for most markets, change the cabin air filter, and check the condition of the body and suspension. Service 2 is at 60,000 kilometers, 36,000 miles or 4 years. This service has the same requirements as Service 1, but also adds spark plugs replacement and engine air filter replacement. Service 3 is at 90,000 kilometers, 54,000 miles or 6 years. This is exactly the same as Service 1 with only one additional requirement: transmission fluid change. It covers both 6-speed manual and 7-speed dual clutch transmissions. And finally, Service 4 is at 120,000 kilometers or 72,000 miles or 8 years if your Puma manages to get to this milestone with such service intervals. This is just the same as Service 2, so you change the engine oil and filter, brake fluid, cabin air filter, spark plugs and engine air filter, and also check the condition of the body and suspension. After that, Ford doesn't seem to care about what happens with your Puma, or they probably don't believe you will take it any further. Anyway, you can and should introduce the interim service once every 15,000 kilometers or about 9,000 miles, or once every year, whichever comes first. During the interim service, it makes sense to change engine oil and filter and provide your vehicle with an overall inspection, such as checking for fluid leaks, suspension issues, body problems, etc. Also, the engine air filter replacement requirement seems a little wild. Ford recommends replacing it once every 4 years or 36,000 miles. Given it's not an expensive part and you can easily replace it on your own, I would include that in a yearly service. Also, the new 1.0 EcoBoost engines and the 1.5 EcoBoost have chain-driven timing system, and the chain has no replacement interval. It still makes sense to check the chain at about 150,000 kilometers, 100,000 miles to make sure the tensioner is okay. Also, the water pump is driven by a belt in both engines that is better to replace at least at 150,000 kilometers because it can degrade and contaminate the oil, especially if you are not using the Ford OEM oil. Prior to model year 2020, the 1.0 EcoBoost used wet belts instead of chains. Those engines have insane requirements of belt change once every 150,000 miles, but the majority of wet belt engines just don't last that long. I'm not sure if early Puma SUVs had belt-driven engines, but if it's your case, the timing belt and water pump belt should be replaced once every 100,000 kilometers or 60,000 miles to avoid issues.